Alright, so here we go. Most people come to the Lego house for the giant creations, the building zones, and all the fun activities, but underneath all of this is something most visitors completely miss. Today, I'm going to walk you through this really quickly about the Lego house history collection that's in the basement of the Lego house. We'll walk through about 90 years of Lego history. So, as you can see here, we're just getting started. So, let's go ahead and get going here. Alright, so basically right here, the moment you walk down these stairs, it feels like you're just stepping back into time. The giant Lego history collection is just a gateway into the story of how small this little woodworking shop in Denmark eventually became one of the largest toy companies in the world. This year, you are entered in this all Lego made Lego sign, the iconic photo right there. That's all made out of Lego pieces. So basically what's really cool is that this set just isn't a museum full of old sets. Even the displays tells part of the story of how Lego evolved over the decades. So as you can see here, I zoomed in on these parts and how they made this creation here on the wall. So this is how we get started here. We're not going to read every sign and go through there. So basically, it all started with old Kurt Christensen in the 1930s. So before the Lego bricks even existed, he was actually making the wooden toys. The company was built around one simple philosophy that only the best is good enough. So basically, in fact, that phrase is still part of Lego culture today. That name itself, Lego, you all know is from the Danish word. If I don't know if I pronounce this right, but Lego, which means play well. I don't know if I said that right, but anyway, this is basically the old history. Looking back around at these displays, it's amazing how you realize that none of these early products looked anything like we know of Lego today. So you can go through these when you're there. Take a lot of time just down here in the history section. So eventually the plastic bricks do come into the shop here for Oakirk. Basically what happens is plastics become more common after World War II. So Lego started experimenting with plastic building bricks. So let me show you here, after we look at some of these wooden toys, the machine that was used to make these plastic toys. Basically, over time, he kept improving that design until 1958, when the brick we all know today was patented. So here we go, the wooden toy, the iconic wooden duck right here. I did snag the exclusive one on that, which is signed by the creators, made out of Lego bricks. So there's his house right there. We did visit his house while we were across the street here, so I do have a video of that coming up here shortly. You'll want to see that. So we'll look at all these wooden toys real quick here before we head into the Lego machine here that they made. So let's keep going. Alright, so this sign right here is awesome. Have you no faith? Can't you see? If we do this right, we can sell bricks all over the world. So I thought that was a pretty cool quote to take a photo of, just because of what Lego has done across the world. So there's the machine there, the Lego brick making machine that was used early on. So basically here, if you turn around after you look at these old vintage bricks here, you can see how the room is. It's basically a huge square, and on the inside of the square we'll go into, which is the vault. So here's some more history of it and just some early products and Lego systems, some images that were used back in the day. And we're finally coming across some more modern looking Lego sets that you may recognize today. So as we move on across this history here, one thing you'll notice about the museum is how it walks you through each era, but you can actually see Lego changing as the years go by. The colors become brighter, the builds become more detailed, new themes start appearing, minifigures arrive. We got space, castle, pirates, Technic, all of that. So basically, it's like every section represents another generation of kids growing up through Lego. So I thought that was pretty cool as you walk around this. So I guarantee everyone has at least one display here that makes them stop and say, hey, I had that. So that's like one of the coolest parts about this whole experience, is just the nostalgia. One of my favorite parts was right here in the center. You enter basically this little square room inside of it, and it goes around the era of all the Lego sets with sealed sets, built sets, and everything. So we're gonna walk around this starting on the early ages of Lego. Basically shelf after shelf of sealed Lego sets from the decades of history. Some of these sets are nearly impossible to find today, especially in this condition in this box. So There were so many that I've never seen before, like this ship right here. I don't remember that ship, of course. You all know Barracuda Bay, all those from the 80s. We remember that. This was before my time. This one here, obviously, everyone knows the classic Yellow Castle. That one, I believe, is the one of the most iconic sets out there, back there with the castle. But some of these haven't even been open, which is crazy. So seeing them all together is honestly like overwhelming. It's like walking through every Lego catalog you've ever seen, like growing up or you got in the mail. So if you're a collector, this room is definitely worth the visit. So I would definitely do that. Inside of this also is the digital vault. We'll go over here in a little bit. So we'll go with that. That's right behind me, but basically right here is all your Lego ideas. So this is the whole theme on that. Mostly newer sets because it's a newer theme. So that's kind of what we have going on right here. And basically they had two little tables in the middle. This one was the Technic table is what I called it, because inside of it had a whole bunch of different Technic vehicles from the early years and how they have advanced also. So that was interesting to see how those are built. And we'll keep going around. We are still in some older ages here, as you can see. I wanted to show off the space to all my space fans out there because everyone loves the gray and blue space classic here. I basically just want you to enjoy looking at these crisp boxes that are still sealed. I mean, I was just, like I said, I was amazed. So just keep looking at these here as we go around the room. Nothing in particular, just some random, basically shots of some old sets that some of you might have had, like I mentioned, and maybe still do, which would be pretty cool if you still have some of these, especially if you have built or the parts somewhere. If you remember the old Lego manuals, they were kind of tricky to put together at times. It did not tell you the piece count, so I do remember that. And we'll keep going. We got some Lego City. We got the Paradisa here coming up. So that was a pretty good theme back then. Also, I think the colors were definitely eye-popping for that era. And y'all remember the creepy dolls. This is probably a Belleville Lego, I'm guessing, but those things were kind of creepy. All right, so we are next going to move on to the digital vault right here. I'm gonna go through this real quick. Basically, you put your tag on there, your little card. You can go through all the eras and see what Lego sets were made. You can go through so many themes, so I definitely wanted to touch base on that. That digital vault right there basically has thousands of sets archived inside of it, where you can just go see the boxes and everything. So it's basically a place for fans who have ever wanted to rebuild an old childhood set. It's all right there in that archive, which is pretty cool. So we're going to continue through the collection, and basically we are really starting to appreciate how much Lego has changed while somehow staying exactly the same. The themes have evolved. You can see here there's just so many themes that are popping up, and you're probably saying to yourself, oh yeah, I remember that theme, because that's what's cool about this, is they just like retire it, which makes you kind of mad but also makes you appreciate it also. So the building techniques do become more advanced, even though they still click the same way they did generations ago. So the consistency is one of the reasons Lego has lasted for so many years. That basketball set back there was really awesome for me to see. I don't ever remember that box or that set. I remember the minifigures, but I don't remember it all put together. We had a little Star Wars section for you Star Wars fans. We're coming to the pirates and things like that. So definitely, if you ever visit the Lego house, do not skip this part inside the history collection. It's easy to spend all of your time upstairs building and playing, but this downstairs museum gives you a completely different appreciation for Lego. Before we leave this room, I want to show you here, behind me is a table. Let me get to that table over here. So basically, there's two tables. One has the Technic, which we talked about already, and then the other table is the train. So let me show you that. The trains here, it was just a cool display. Like, if you're into the Lego trains, there's just so many Lego trains out there, which they're all not here, but really cool display how they had this just to show how the train has evolved through the years. And that's what's cool about this whole room. It's not even just about every set, it's just how everything has just evolved. So they just throw just a few sets from each little era, which is pretty cool. So we're going to be leaving this area here shortly to continue the rest of the square around, but basically the rest of the square has it's just going to keep going through the years. You got your 90s, your 80s, your 90s, you got your minifigs, and things like that. So basically we leave here and get close to the end, coming across some real iconic Lego sets. So you all know this one here. That was awesome to see. We have some early minifigure molds here, which was awesome. So we're getting to the minifigure era, and basically with this era here, you can see this is the evolution of the minifigure, which is awesome how it's just changed over the years. But I think right now this minifigure that they currently have will probably stick around for a super long time just because how cool it is. So you got all your 90s and 2000s, you had all your commercials, all your advertisements was huge during that time. So you definitely had these sets, the Paradisa sets, the commercials for those, you had your castle and things like that. So basically here was the Star Wars. They had a little tiny section on it. I am sorry, Star Wars fans, but it was a big era for them. But I love Star Wars too, so, but they did get some franchises coming into Lego, which I think definitely helped them with, you know, all those early themes. So 2000 to the 2010s, as you can see here, just some random sets, and we'll keep moving on. I want to know, basically in the comments, what was your first Lego set? If you've ever visited Lego House, what was your favorite part? And if you enjoyed coming along on this tour, make sure you subscribe, because I got a lot more about the Lego House and Lego Land. So basically make sure you hit that subscribe and like button, and we will continue on this tour of the Lego House. We will be entering upstairs here shortly, so stay tuned for those videos. And like I said, once again, let me know in the comments your favorite sets and things like that. But thanks for watching, and hit that like, and if you have any other questions, let me know and throw that in the comments. So thanks again for coming to the Lego History Vault.